Okay, hey guys. For anyone who's watching, thanks for joining me. I am with Chad and Grant Budden today, and we are just going to discuss how you guys have been doing using the Roman protocol, how your program has been going, and kind of the results that you've been seeing.
Okay.
So how are you guys doing today?
We're doing good. And I think probably the biggest change for Grant that we've seen is understanding the water, how important the water intake is. And then by the processes that you provided, he now is aware of what foods are actually retaining the water. And there have been several times, the day before water weight, he's been able to get rid of 8 pounds in a very short period of time. And I do think as far as energy and endurance has been dramatically improved compared to the past, where he'd begin restricting water 2 and 3 days before, versus your process is you're actually increasing water 2 or 3 days before, which obviously that's the biggest downfall of many wrestlers, is not having enough water in their system and the processes to use it to get away.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess just to backtrack really quick. So how did you guys previously make weight before going through this program?
Before, I would probably, I would struggle probably all season to drink more than a bottle of water a day or two, just because mentally it was hard for me to see that I'm 4 pounds overweight. So I would stay close the whole time, and my hands would be dry and cracked, and I wouldn't go to the bathroom very often, or it was pretty terrible.
And I think in practice too, if he'd lost 2 pounds, that was a good practice. Now it's easily
3 or 4 pounds.
Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like for the most part you were kind of just purposely dehydrating throughout the entire season because you were just constantly worried about making sure you were hitting that weight number. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what would you guys do food-wise during the season?
Eat a lot of chicken. Chicken and eggs.
And I think with the processes you've provided, there has been more of a variety. And I think it's just been smarter, the foods that he eats. It's more, again, looking at where you're at when you have to make weight, and using the provided options to keep the weight down at the right times.
And I think for me, it's more just having the meal plan in front of you and having the choices. It gives you something to follow. So the stress of okay, what should I bring with, is kind of gone because it's all there for you. You just and it's based around what you like to eat. So.
Okay. So a big thing then, it sounds like, it's kind of just having that strategy in place. And have you guys noticed any differences energy-wise between kind of that old school method versus now?
Throughout the day, I feel a lot better, and I don't get as hungry as easily as I did before. I feel like I eat better foods and I can eat more than what I thought I could. And I just when I wrestle, I don't get as tired as fast as what I used to.
And he's more tolerable at home.
Okay, so I guess kind of just to touch on that a little bit, what do you mean by more tolerable? Is there a new difference that you guys have seen?
Yeah, he used to be very, I don't want to say down, but I don't think wrestling was as enjoyable as it is now. It was, how many more days do I have left? I can't wait for the season to be over. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm sick of this. Versus now, it's more. I would say I think everybody's ready for be done at the end of the year, but the constant battle of cutting weight has not been there. It used to be during the season. I would get a phone call on the day before. Okay, Dad, here's my weight. Here's where I'm at. It was kind of nice to put that on somebody else, which obviously was you. So that was a breath of fresh air, I think, for us. And truly, I've asked Grant many times. I've said, do you feel it was worth it? Because obviously it's an expensive thing, but it's you ask yourself, what really is expensive? At what cost do you you sacrifice health. I don't know if you can put a price on health. And he said to me many times, 1,000 times over, it was worth doing. So I don't regret it one bit, taking that. And I think you would have to agree, early on, I was probably skeptical. Obviously you're in New York and we're in Minnesota, and having, and just really, I guess, trusting the system. And it was definitely a good decision on our part to take that leap of faith.
Yeah, yeah. And, I think that could be said for anyone when they're starting something new. Of course, if you're not entirely sure how it's going to work for you and what those results are, of course, there's going to be a little bit of skepticism, but it's awesome to hear that it sounds like it panned out for you guys and something to kind of put into perspective. So I'm kind of just curious if you guys know, Grant, about how many matches a year or per season do you think you wrestle in general?
Right now, I've wrestled 31. I'll probably wrestle close to 45 or 50.
Okay. All right. And for anyone that's listening, so how many years left of your high school season do you have?
I have the rest of this year and next year. So
Okay.
a year, really.
And then we have a younger one that hopefully will be able to take the same philosophies and use those. So realistically, we've got another 4 or 5 years that we can use the strategies. And if he would wrestle in college, which that's a possibility, but we're not sure at this time.
Okay. Got it. So, Grant, for you, it sounds like you have at least another 50 matches left, and then kind of family-wise, you guys are going to be able to use this for the next 3-4 years. So, I guess kind of putting that into perspective, how does that sound to you when you hear that you no longer have to cut using those old school strategies for the next 40 or 50 matches, or for the next several years if you even do go to college?
It makes it a lot easier. Like, before, during wrestling, it was like kind of miserable making weight. Like, I hated it, and I probably didn't necessarily have fun wrestling. Versus now, like, I enjoy it. I'm not like, I've had even friends and teachers kind of ask me like what's happened, because they notice like I'm not as cranky as what I was before. And like, in the past, I would almost become kind of antisocial just because I didn't want to talk to people. I wanted to be by myself. Versus now, it feels more normal in a sense. Like, it's not even cutting weight anymore. It's like, once you get down, it's just sustaining at that point. So
Okay.
It's been a lot better. And I'm not as stressed as what I was before about my weight. Like, it's not really a concern anymore for me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I guess, Dad, did you ever think that you would hear Grant say that his weight's not a concern for him anymore during the wrestling season?
No. No, it always was an issue. And again, I think back to the ways that I used to do it, and it was definitely the old school. I always say, if I would have had these processes, what could have been different for me. So it definitely has been a much refreshing way to pursue the weight cutting.
No, that's awesome. And just to clarify for anyone that is listening, because I don't want people to think it's like a magic pill or you kind of just snap your fingers and you get these awesome results. I know, Grant, you've been working super hard and have been very dedicated to the process. And you too, Chad, any kind of questions you guys have, you always ask. And I know we've been kind of tweaking your program throughout our time working together. So definitely for anyone that is watching this, just know that these guys actually have been working really hard for their results. So,
and I think that's a key to really truly determine if this is truly works, is you do have to follow what you laid out. If you don't, it won't work, but you do have to follow the processes and the protocols that you've provided.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always tell people that too. It's a good fit if it's realistic and it's a good program for you guys. So 100%. Okay. All right. So super excited to kind of hear about you guys. I know you said that you have your qualifiers and sectionals coming up, preparing for states. So can't wait to see the rest of the progress you guys continue to make. I guess for anyone who's watching, do you have any other questions, comments, or concerns that maybe you would want to address to them?
I think truly, if you're on the fence, I think it's well worth taking the chance to do this. I think if you have any aspirations to be successful on a very as far as cutting weight, and I just think I would take the leap of faith, and it does work if you follow the system.
Okay, awesome. Grant, same question for you. Anything else you want to throw in there, good or bad?
Well, I mean, I'll just give an example of like how the Roman protocol worked for me. So there was one day where I wrestled 138, and the day before, 2 days before my match, I was 151 pounds, and in less than 24 hours, I had lost all the weight and was easily making weight. And I think I had a total of maybe 2 hours of practice and all that.
And I think one other thing that I'll just throw out, another change that I've noticed, it used to be overnight people lose 1 pound, and now it's very common to lose 3 to 4 overnight. I think just because of the processes and the water weight that he's had. So.
Yeah, for sure. I know one thing that we've talked about is kind of as you get accustomed to the process and used to it, because so the Roman protocol is sort of based on this scientific process and has a lot to do with the biological functions in the body. But as your body kind of gets used to it, it essentially turns into this open faucet where we're so easily able to manipulate that water. And if you're not seeing those big jumps in weight on a daily basis, then you're probably doing it wrong. So the fact that you guys can see those big changes just from doing a training or even floating when you're sleeping means that it's working exactly like it's supposed to. Okay, awesome. Well, it's been great chatting with you guys. Again, can't wait to see the rest of the results you make. And yeah, just looking forward to it. Thank you guys so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.